Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Austin, I just want to clarify a couple of things about vaccines and vaccine mandates. I'm told that a routine mustering into the service requires something like 13 vaccinations. Is that accurate?
I think it's 9, Senator. And depending on where you're going, at any one point in time, that number can increase up to about 13. So.
Depends on where the soldier, sailor, Marine, or Guardian will be assigned.
Right.
And that's just routine. That's part of the military for as long as we can remember. Is it true, General, that Mr. Secretary, that General Washington mandated vaccination against smallpox in the Continental Army at the time of the Revolutionary War?
That is true.
And the purpose of this vaccination mandate had nothing to do with politics. It had to do with saving lives and maintaining readiness, did it not?
That's exactly right.
And I remember being on a call when we were in sort of lockdown here with regard to the USS Teddy Roosevelt, where in early March, April, and May of 2020, the virus ripped through the ship. I think it's over 1,000 people tested positive because of the nature of their close military proximity. Doesn't that make vaccinating against an infectious disease all the more important in the military?
To me and to all of my colleagues, it absolutely does, Senator. I've told the chairman a number of times that in my lifetime, the only thing that I've seen that has been able to disable a carrier is this vaccine.
It's interesting because General Washington said that when his letter to John Hancock about the vaccine, he said, this is the most dangerous thing to our troops, more dangerous than the sword of the enemy. Exactly what you just said. General Milley, I want to thank you for the integrity that you've demonstrated in your position. I remember, and I'm sure you do too, questioning you at your confirmation hearing. And my question was, will you tell the truth? Will you give your best military advice, even if it doesn't suit the leadership that you were working with at the time? You have done that, and I want to thank you for that and for the extraordinary service that you've provided to this country throughout your career, but over the last 4 years. I appreciate your keeping your word to me and this committee from the date of your confirmation. General Austin, allowing the intelligence about the imminence of the Russian invasion was, I think, a brilliant move by the administration at the beginning. However, why are we telling everybody in the world what we're sending and when we're sending it? This morning, I learned on National Public Radio, and I suspect Putin did, although I don't know if he listens to National Public Radio, how many tanks have arrived in Ukraine and when they are going to be deployed. Why do we broadcast that information?
Well, we certainly try not to, Senator. As you know, as various countries provide contributions, they are proud of those contributions, and sometimes we find our colleagues providing a bit too much information. But yeah,
you understand my question.
I do. So, and when I meet with our colleagues here, and I meet with them every month, this is a point that I'll continue to drive home, that the Russians are absolutely focused on where this equipment is and what it's doing. So we gotta help ourselves.
I fully agree. A couple of questions I'm going to submit for the record about ISR capability, both in Northcom and Southcom, which was in their unfunded priority list. But you can make a strong case it should have been in the base budget. ISR is so important, particularly in counter-drug, where people are being killed every day. I think my calculation is about 20 people have died in this country of overdoses since this hearing started this morning. And to not have sufficient ISR and resources to interdict what we can find, I think is a misallocation of resources. I'm going to submit that for the record. Finally, General Milley, probably the word that's been used the most today is readiness. And the question I have is, are we preparing for the right war? In terms of the changed nature of war that you've seen over the course of your career. If a conflict comes, it's going to start with cyber, electronic, directed energy, space. are we adequately taking account of the changed nature of conflict so that we're not preparing for the last war, but for, hopefully there won't be another one, but if there is another conflict, that's where our efforts should be going.
Yeah, just really briefly, Senator, I think we're in a pivotal period here, a transition period, where we have a method of war that is based out of an industrial age sort of thing, and we're moving to a different operational environment sometime in the future. So think about things like robotics, artificial intelligence, hypersonics, cyber. There's a wide variety of technologies that are coming at us very, very quickly. And the country that maximizes and optimizes those technologies for the conduct of warfighting is going to have a decisive advantage, at least at the outset of the next war. Now, at the same time, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater here. We're in a transition period, so we're still going to need ships and planes and tanks, et cetera. But we are in that transition period, and I think this budget and the last one and future budgets are going to have to move us in the direction of modernizing the force, transforming this force into a future operating environment that is probably not very far away, probably about 10-ish years or so, and we need to move out with a sense of urgency.
Thank you. I agree, and the R&D emphasis in the last budget and this budget, I think, is one of the most important policy directions that this budget represents. On behalf of the chairman, Senator